What's going on, traders? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is April 20th, 2021. Please click that like button and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today, we're going to talk about the price action in the headline indices. Pretty big reversal day today. We'll go under the hood and check out our sectors and style factors. Talk about some of my trades for the day. I had a lot of trades today. And then we'll wrap up with some options order flow. Before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer, nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. All right, let's jump in here because we have a lot to talk about today. All right, let's do it. So S&P 500. Okay, right now I'm looking at the VVIX. That was pretty elevated. So for our box scores today, we had the S&P 500 finish down 0.73%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ finish down 0.73% as well. We had the IWM small caps finish down 2.05%. They were really plunging into the abyss today. It was kind of crazy. I was net short for the day today, so I ended up having a great day in the markets. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. I was short the small caps, and then we had the Dow Jones down 0.77% for the day. So you can see here, we're looking at our S&P 500. You know, we had just been getting extended and extended and extended in the S&P 500. And we were riding that 5-day exponential moving average higher for, a couple of weeks there. It was a really nice bullish stretch in the market. Now we're just getting, what's very natural for the market, which is, you have these really bullish runs, you get very extended, but gravity always takes hold of the market. And you can see, if this was like very unexpected for you, like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? And you really weren't prepared for it at all. All you really have to do is just look back at a chart of the S&P 500, and you can see, this pink line is the 20-day simple moving average. The S&P 500 pulls back to the 20-day all the time, and you can see here, this isn't even, we haven't even made it to the 20-day simple moving average yet, so there could still be more to come, for all we know. Yeah, just another day of a pullback here. Now we actually have some reference points to trade against. So if we look at our hourly chart, you can see here, this is our weekly value area. So this is where 70% of the transactions in the prior week occurred. I like to use these value areas because it tells me psychologically, where are most of the market participants actually underwater on their positions? Where are they above water? Because, once everyone starts going underwater on their positions, eventually they have to stop out. So yeah, very useful information here. So if we look, you can see in yesterday's price action, we dipped into this weekly value area and we rallied back above. But then you can see in the overnight session, morning session, we dipped, further into this weekly value area here. We actually dipped below this weekly point of control, and it looked like, oh my gosh, we're going to make a break for this 4106 area. I still think, there's the possibility that we get down there. I even think there's the possibility that we get down to this 4063 level, but we'll have to see. We certainly don't get down there in a straight line, that's for sure. There's a lot of, back and forth price action along the way. And you can see the futures just opened, and we got a little smidge of a green candle here, so we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, next level of downside that I'm looking for is this 4106 level if this little downtrend that we are in continues. And then if we pull up our Qs, pull up the NQ here, you can see the NQ also, got pretty extended. And now what's interesting is when you look at this red candle, this is why I like doing technical analysis, because you're really analyzing the psychology of the market. Now everyone that bought the Qs for the last really like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trading days, they're now underwater. So that's the interesting thing where, like last week, I was trying to be very patient because I knew we were getting very overbought. And it's very tough when you're being patient, like up here, and then you see the market go up even further. Because when you're a short-term trader, like a swing trader, whatever, especially with social media, a single day where the market rallies feels like an eternity. And it's very easy to just kind of like FOMO in and do things that are really against your own trading plan. But I was pretty patient. And you can see all it takes is a couple of trading days to wipe out, many prior candles. So you can see a pretty deep red candle here. With the NASDAQ, see the NASDAQ actually trading below this weekly value area here. So this one, in terms of the short-term trend, we are now in a downtrend. So we'll have to see if we get a bounce here or if we just keep slipping into the abyss for the month end. Because one thing, I brought this up a bunch of times, but pretty much every single month so far in 2021, the first half of the month is beautiful. And you get, really bullish price action. But then the second half of the month gets a bit tougher. A lot of times we end up, almost giving back everything we made in the first half in the second half. And now, we're in the back nine of April here. And then the one that was really a firecracker today, I posted about this one in the morning, the small caps. So if you look here at the small caps, so I had been talking about this with our Pristine Capital members. You can see here we kept wicking out. So every time we would break below this monthly point of control, there were dip buyers that would always come in and push us higher. And you can see today the dam really broke, where we ended up getting a close below this point of control. And you can see this is a really ugly red candle, and it's coming on volume here. And I came into the day short the IWM via puts. And my puts, the past couple days, they were really like bleeding out. It was like, man, I'm probably going to take a full loss on these puts. I guess the hedge, really wasn't warranted, whatever. And then today they really came to life. So you can see on this weekly value area, really early in the day, we were selling off on very high volume. And it was, the pace was very fast. And then you could see towards midday, the selling kind of let up a little bit. And then we ended up getting a rally towards the close. But yeah, at a certain point today, it was like, oh my gosh, is this thing really going to fall like 3% in a day? It was looking very dire. So you'll see when I go to my trades, I scalped out of some, then I actually scalped back in. So yeah, we'll go through that. But yeah, RTY. And then if we look at the Dow Jones here are YM futures. You can see the Dow, also jumped into this weekly value area. So yeah, in 2021 as a whole, I noticed a lot of traders are very frustrated with what's going on, because even during this last rally up, this was like a beautiful rally right here, but there wasn't really that much participation. And a lot of the areas of the market that are really leading us higher this year are the polar opposite of what was leading us higher last year. So you really have to, try to stretch yourself mentally and be like, okay, what is actually leading and what is actually lagging? And even though it might be some stock with a crazy story, it's so innovative, blah, 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 it might not make for the best stock to buy. And the reason being is, if a stock goes up 700% in 2020 and then it pulls back 10% in 2021, is the stock cheap? It's really tough to tell, and I think a lot of these names, people were jumping into them like, oh my gosh, a 10% dip. This stock never goes down that much. This is such a steal. And those names actually just entered into downtrends. So we'll have to see, what the rest of 2021 brings. But yeah, definitely, a super interesting playground that we have in front of us for this year. And then if we take a look here, if we go under the hood, take a look at our heat map, you can see there were some areas of the market that were pretty strong. We had consumer defensives, we had healthcare, we had, Tesla randomly was up, real estate, utilities, all these really defensive areas of the market were very positive today. And then a lot of the other areas, were blood red. There was definitely some selling. Like you can see energy, blood red, industrials, financials. So a lot of these recovery names. Then you can see the semis also. So yeah, there was a lot of red on the tape. Breadth was really poor again today. If we look at our sectors, so yeah, you can see top sectors for momentum. We have the gold miners. Who'd have thunk it? With a nice performance today of 1.15%. We had the utilities, which were positive. Real estate, healthcare, all these areas positive. And yeah, you can see, a lot of these other areas really getting taken to the woodshed. So the regional banks down 4%. You can see cannabis down huge. A lot of people, the Cannabis Banking Act was passed the other night. The news was essentially sold. You can see even the blockchain names were down today. I had bought yesterday the Ethereum Trust. And Ethereum had a really nice day today. So that one did pretty good. If we look at our style factors, you can see here, the only style factors that were green were the defensives and the min vol. So that really gives you a feel for, just how risk off this was. If you look at some of the areas that got hit the hardest, high beta got slaughtered down 2.7%. Cyclicals down 2.5%. And then even the momentum and the growth, also really struggled. So for my trades for today, one thing that I did for Pristine Capital members, our trend portfolio, a couple of days ago, I had done a rebalance of the trend portfolio, and I actually raised some cash, about 10%, and I took that 10% allocation and put it into VIXM, which is like it's like a hedging instrument. It measures the midterm VIX futures. And today, as we were going into the close for M1 Finance, they have a 3 o'clock trading window. I actually moved out of this VIXM, and I took that 10% allocation. And I put that cash back to work. The trend portfolio is not really supposed to be for market timing, but our VVIX risk indicator, had a really good sell signal. It actually allowed me to raise some cash. And so, if the market's down again tomorrow, it's not really a big deal. But that was nice that we were able to hedge out some of that risk. And then if we go to my trades today for my trading account, let's pull these up. See, I did a lot today. I'm going to try to run through these pretty quickly. But yeah, again, I came into today's session short. I had talked about, my VVIX risk model, setting up a red flag a couple days back. So I was scaling out of longs and entering into shorts by the end of last week. So at 10:57, I closed out. I had some IWM April 23rd puts. Closed these out for a small winner. And these coming into today, they were marking at like $1. And then they really, exploded throughout the trading session. I think they got, as high as like $4.50 at one point in the day. But I was like, what? These expire literally, Friday. I want to make sure that while I have the gain, I take it. And then if anything, I'll roll out to a further expiration date. So close this one out for a winner. At 11:08, when the market was really looking precarious, I actually entered a small flyer on Amazon. I entered a 33.40 by 33.50 April 23rd call spread. And you can see Amazon. Another thing that we've been talking about is kind of like this flight to quality. And some of these FANG names, you can see they are getting very close to their earnings dates. And Amazon is one where when you look at this weekly chart, looks pretty solid here. And you can see, pretty close to a breakout. So we'll have to see if we get that breakout. But really just for, in case we get a bounce in the market. And in case people go, hey, I want to be invested in Amazon for this earnings report. This one really just looking for a very small move higher in Amazon over the next couple days. So yeah, today was pretty cool because, I wasn't panicking when the market was selling off. I was in a position where I was like, okay, I'm making some positive P&L here, so I can actually look for things to buy on the dip. I closed out half of my SPX hedge. I had sold a 41.40 by 41.50 call spread. Originally took in a credit of 540 for that. This one also was marking for a loss, coming into today. This one kind of exploded to the upside. I was able to close it for a $5.20 debit, so it made about 20 cents on that hedge. What I thought was interesting, so like as we started progressing throughout the day, like you'll see here, I started to close out my shorts and get net long the market. I was just seeing a couple things where like, the VVIX was putting in a long upper wick on the candle. I saw the VIX was doing the same. Another thing was even this call spread that I sold. You would think like at one point the market was really down. It's like if we go to SPX, you can see here, it closed at like 41.34. The call spread that I sold, was 100% in the money. And it was only marking at like 540 or something like that. So I was like, man, these market makers, they really think there's a good chance that we bounce here. That's kind of how I interpret it. So I was like, yeah, let me just close out half of this in case we do get a little bounce and just to adjust my net exposure. So yeah, close that out. I also had even more IWM puts. I had put on a calendar spread a couple weeks ago in IWM. The reason why I love these calendar spreads is you can put them on, you buy one leg, and then you sell another leg. And what happens is, say if you don't get that move, like IWM last week, we didn't get a move down in IWM. What ended up happening was the April option that I was short expired, and I was left with the May 212 puts. So those, they're kind of sitting on the books. And then once your short leg expires, your long option, it's essentially like you picked it up at a discount and it has a totally different risk profile. So yeah, I closed those out for $3.72. I had paid $3.28 for those. And these were for May, and they were out of the money as well. So I figured, while we're really getting this explosion, IWM is really cratering, let me just monetize these. And if anything, I'll roll out to a higher strike, roll out deeper in time, that sort of thing. Sometimes when you get these big red candles, sometimes it does follow up with another big red candle. Other times you get a bounce and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I had monetized that. So yeah, I just closed those out for a nice winner. And what did I do here? Yeah, so I closed those out. I got long some Microsoft May 15th, 257.5 strike calls. Again, just playing for a bounce really. Then I got long again, just seeing if this thing would really puke into the close. I rolled out to some IWM June options with a higher strike. Put those on for 920. I saw it didn't look like we were really going to puke. So I closed those out for a very tiny winner for 926. I had paid 920, essentially a scratch. I figured, I don't really need those. I'm willing to just go overnight, not being hedged. Then I closed out. I had some XLI puts for September that I had bought a while back. Closed those out for $5.28. I had paid $6.20 for them. And these again, close these out for a loser. But these, coming into today's session, they were like, oh my gosh, these are just marking negatively on my P&L. So they helped as well where, the XLI was down pretty big today. And I was like, you know what, XLI, the industrials, it's not really like, if I had to choose now, okay, which sector do you really want to be short? The industrials, they actually look like they're in a pretty good trend here. And they pulled back to the 20-day. So yeah, I think this was good. I just took these off. So yeah, by the end of the day, I was pretty much out of most of my shorts. I have like 1/2 of a hedge left on an SPX. So yeah, those, they insulated me pretty nicely, and I made some nice P&L from those today. And let's see, yeah, so I closed those out. Then I got long some Boyd, May 65 strike calls. Boyd is one that had a nice pullback. This one had a nice finish as well. See, if you look at Boyd, pulled back to this monthly point of control, and then dip buyers came in and bid this one right up. So yeah, I think there were a lot of good opportunities today. to buy the dip in some of these things that were a little bit oversold. That's just in my opinion. We'll see, what happens tomorrow. Maybe they go even lower. Yeah, and then I did some stock trading as well, really quick. This is a cannabis name that I bought for $1.29. FFNTF. We'll have to see if this one does anything. Was reading some research today, and apparently, this one is trading at a really nice valuation. I figured, I'll take some exposure, get some exposure back to that theme, especially when some of these small caps are a bit oversold. This company, Forefront Ventures, couldn't really get much traction to the upside today. Market was pretty rough, and I think a lot of these cannabis names are sold, but this one still closed positive, which is pretty good. So I'll see tomorrow, if we can trade inside this wick. So I got long that one. Then, so I got long VUZI. VUZI, it's a name I really like. And again, this is just another example of just trying to buy when everyone is hitting the exits, running for cover. VUZI, you can see here, it's been in a really nice trend throughout 2021. I did a lot of research on these guys over the weekend. Really interesting company. They do augmented reality goggles. And their CEO is actually presenting at a conference next week related to augmented reality technology. And so I think that's like a nice catalyst where this name, it's been in a really nice trend. Small caps are a bit oversold. You got a nice catalyst next week. So I entered this one right off that 50-day moving average. So we'll have to see if small caps continue to be under pressure. I could see this one getting down to around like 1889. But we'll have to see. I like that catalyst that's ahead of us. And then really quick, I got long Zim as well and PLBY. Zim. So this one, I was looking at the numbers for this one. This one, it's Zim integrated shipping. This one reported really nice numbers, and this one trades for a really nice valuation too. This one, price to sales, super low. They're profitable, they're cash flowing, really nice business. And you can see here, historically, trips to this 20-day simple moving average have been good buying points. I see a bunch of people on FinTwit, raving about this name. Typically, they're raving about it, probably on this candle. A bunch of people were talking about it, and probably on this candle. So what my goal is, let me enter it, at the buy point, not when everyone is like, oh my gosh, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm sure there were a lot of people stopping out of this name today. So I was like, okay, I'll put a position on. And then on PLBY. This one has been on a tear. And I was actually thinking about entering PLBY way earlier in the trading session. I saw it was down like 5% still. And I was like, oh man, maybe I'll enter something else. I entered Zim earlier in the day. PLBY was the one that ended up closing positive on the day, up over 4%. So I ended up buying this one, when it was up on the day. But yeah, PLBY is more like a longer term thematic play. So we'll see what happens with PLBY. But yeah, so I had a lot of trades today. You can see like I was short, then I flipped long. So I did a lot of trading today. And then we'll really quickly take a look at the order flow. And you can see when things were really coming undone in the morning, we did get some capitulatory put buying, which I really like to see. That's always one of my indications of like, okay, let me start taking some hedges off or maybe adding some longs. Until we see that capitulatory put buying, I don't really feel comfortable taking my hedges off. But you can see in the morning, we got these like, oh my gosh, I need to buy puts. I don't have any on. These were very close to the lows of the day. We had some IWM puts go up deep out of the money, more IWM puts, SPY puts, a lot of puts. And then as soon as the market started turning, a little bit more positive, that's when we had a lot of the dip buyers come out. So yeah, there was a lot of activity today for Disney. I definitely noticed that. Yeah, check this out. So you can see this is for 2022. Disney is a name that, I've been long at certain points, but the trend really just kind of fizzled out. Yeah, it is oversold. You can see it's tagging that lower Bollinger Band. So that looks pretty interesting. When do they report earnings? Most likely in May, because they report in February. But yeah, it looks like there's some options activity in Disney. Let me see if there's like a nice level to trade against. And then let me wrap this up, because this video is ending up being pretty long today. Yeah, so we're below the monthly value area, which is not good. And yeah, we're super oversold on the hourly as well. Yeah, this isn't really one that is very actionable for me. Maybe if it gains some ground. And then this actually really interested me too. So we had a call buyer in Neo. And Neo is a name that was a big winner in 2020. I remember trading Neo myself to the long side and the downside. I had a really good sequence in Neo. But kind of interesting here. Looks like it could be bottoming. Because you can see, we hit a bottom down here. Then, oh my gosh, we tagged it again. You can see it looks like some accumulation here. Then we fell over a third time, and now you can see we're kind of stabilizing again. So definitely on the chart, this isn't the most bullish thing I've ever seen, that's for sure. This thing is kind of falling apart here. But I set an alert here in case it jumps back into this monthly value area. Then maybe I'll give it a shot. So yeah, this one definitely looks pretty interesting. But that about does it for that options order flow. And that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all have an awesome trading day. And I will see you all tomorrow in the pre-market webinar.